Hello, everyone. Welcome to Catch the Fuck Up. I'm Fern.
And I'm Nicole.
And Dobby stands, are y'all okay? I mean, obviously you're not okay, but like, can I bring you anything? What do you need? Like, because I'm upset
Yeah.
and I didn't really give a shit about Dobby before this, other than wanting to steal his gender. So I'm assuming the people that actually cared are like fucking devastated right now.
Yeah. I definitely like Dobby more than you do, and I am sad. Like I didn't know what to expect, but I did not expect this, and it was big sad. Big sad and big red flags.
Oh God, yes. Such big sad.
Yep. All right. Well, let's just go ahead and go right in. This is chapter 350, and the title is Bound to a Fiery Fate,
Oof.
which is not good. We all know that whenever Horikoshi likes to talk about destiny or fate, it's not fun for whoever he's talking about. All right. So, but first, just a deep cleansing moment for us. When I first opened the chapter, and I always like take a moment to like absorb the first page to kind of see where we're going. And my first thought was, well, actually, my first thought was the fucking evil doctor is back. Fuck him. But
yeah,
then
that was my thought.
My second thought was monkey
Oh my
from,
God.
I think it's the Kung Fu Panda movies. But you know that it was a sound for a while. But yeah, it is a heteromorph who just like appears to be an ape,
Guarding?
gorilla, or something.
Yeah, and he's guarding the doctor because you can't trust him.
Yeah, no, don't let him do anything.
Lucifer, I need you to not be on the desk right now. Thank you.
Lucifer also has feelings about Dobby because now
Lucifer's like, I sense your distress.
Yes. All right. And I feel like I think I know where I remember him from. He's the guy who was there questioning Gentle Criminal. So I think he's a cop or something.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, he is in the police station, so that makes sense.
Yeah, but still, that's why I was like, where have I seen him? I was like, okay.
Your memory is incredible.
I wish it was. It's only incredible when it gets like triggered by some sort of stimulus. I can't just pull things out of the air like some people. Anyway, we're off topic. This is sad Dobby time. All right.
Yes.
So the chapter itself is actually starting with the evil Dr. Garaki. Again, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but he's evil. So he's in holding at some police station, and the guard, who is like one of the only people left because literally all the heroes are now at war again. So he has noticed that because there are not many people there, the war has started, and for some reason he starts
monologuing.
He starts monologuing. He starts thinking about Dobby, apparently, who before this we did not really think they had any sort of connection other than after Dobby came into the league, but apparently
we were wrong.
All right. So he starts monologuing about how he and AFO were like looking for apparently twisted raw material to like be available to All for One. And that that's gross. Sir.
Yep. They're like, let's find needy children to manipulate.
Instead of, helping children. All right. Sure. So we begin the chapter. We go back to the last horrifying panel from the last chapter where we see Dobby's just face falling apart.
Literally, like the picture of self-destruction.
Yeah, literally. So I think that's to say that at this time, it's like the two stories are coming together. Mainly, Dr. Garaki is still like around. He's not dead. And he and Dobby are basically telling the same story to the audience. So you turn the page again, and we go back 11 years earlier to when Toya was believed to have died in the fire on that mountain. And it's not fun. So in the wildfire, we see Toya, who's basically just a charred skeleton child.
Pretty
poor thing.
much.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's upsetting. And we do, one of the panels does show some of his jaw falling off. So that's where we get the jawbone thing from a while back. And essentially he throws himself into, looks like it's just like a stream to stop burning.
Yep.
And he's just passed out. He's like nearly dead already. And as we see what happens next, Garaki is talking about how when they found him, he was essentially born with, he calls it cracks in his psyche, which is not a good way to phrase it, but metaphorically, yeah, kind of. So there's a panel where this poor charred child is just barely clinging to life, and out of the fire walks a man in his stupid fedora, which
I'm assuming that's all for one pre-face melt.
Yes, because this is 11 years ago, which puts it before his last big fight with All Might, where he got his face melting. So he's got his terrible milady fedora, red flags everywhere. All right, so you turn the page and we get a shot of a panel I actually saw a leak of, but I scrolled past it really quick, as I do like every Thursday to Sunday between new chapters. And this panel, I like, in the back of my head, I knew it was Toya / Dabi, but the first thing I thought of is it looks like when Bakugo woke up after the last war. So
yeah, I wonder if we're supposed to draw that parallel.
I feel like we can, like, as you read, there's not really much of a direct connection, like how Bakugo had to Izuku, but you know, he does like still pursue his connections pre coma.
Yeah,
so
and like the differences in their situation are pretty stark too.
Yeah, it's like, I wonder if it's like these two at this point in their lives like could have gone to villainy, but then we see like they're the same, but they're really not actually the same. People just like to lump them together, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, like anyway. One of them, like this situation that Toya's in now, is like a parody of caring.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Whereas, you know, Katsuki actually has a support system.
Yep, exactly. That is a much more eloquent way of putting it. So you get this panel where he wakes up and he is in some sort of weird daycare setting. And
it's so bad.
It's so bad and weird, gives you the heebie-jeebies. And there are other kids there who are like, hey, you're awake, great. And you turn the page and he asks, where are we? And he says, basically his voice has now changed. So I don't think we really know his exact age at this point, or if we do, I don't remember.
So he was 11 when he burned himself up, right?
He might have been. And honestly,
it's been 3 years, so he's in his teens now. He's in his early teens.
Exactly. That's how I drew it. It's like, oh, his voice has changed now. So he was pre-puberty and now he's post-puberty. I'm sure the exact years are out there. I just don't remember.
Oh, I was thinking that his vocal cords had been burned to a crisp.
That too.
His voice has changed.
It's like both can be true, but that's just where I'm thinking, because he's also taller than he was. I think at this point he was pre-puberty before, and now he's post-puberty or going through puberty right now, which gives you a better sense of his age. Because God forbid they just say Toya age blank on these pages, since his last backstory was like 100 chapters ago and I don't remember anything. Anyway.
Yep.
All right. So where he is, it appeared to be some like daycare or child's ward. And then you get this fucker who I do not trust.
I don't like it.
I don't like him. I don't like him at all. I don't like his vibe. I don't like whatever is going on with his face. Like, I don't want to be heteromorphic phobic, but this guy's got a weird, creepy flower face and I don't like it. It's sus.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm. So especially considering, like, well, obviously we have the context of what his job is and who he's working for. So that's what makes him creepy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not his features. It's the context plus his features.
I don't like it. And basically he says, I think at this point might have been where he could have tipped back towards good, because at this point he's like, he's just shocked that it's been 3 years, and he just wants to, his first instinct is he wants to go home, which
He wants to go home, baby.
because he is a baby, he is a child. Yes, he is a child that needed a lot of help, like mentally and therapeutically, but he's still a child. He still wants to go home. So I think this is the point actually where we could have like gotten Toya back, but instead he was not cared for and he was pushed into being Dobby, which is very sad. And this whole chapter is just a big sad.
Yep.
So he says he wants to go home, and Mr. Flower Creepy Face says, no, you can't go home. And like, bad vibes. And it says,
yeah, he's like, they're your new family. You'll come to love it as sure as the sun does rise. Like, oh God.
Big red flags, big badness. Let children like go home to their family. Like, okay. So it's been 3 years. And like Toya is like having all these thoughts, and he's like, he has to get home. He thinks everybody is worried, and because he's a kid, he thinks his dad has been too busy with work to really look for him. And he recognizes that he said and did really awful things before he left, which is like really telling. Like we could have gotten him back. He's like, he was never all bad. Like, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's really the point with, the League of Villains, is that individually, none of them are necessarily quote unquote bad.
Exactly. Like he has misogynist vibes. He has incel vibes, but
yeah, he's also a kid.
Yeah, exactly. He's a kid. He could have been helped. He could have been healed. He could have been supported, especially at this point where he's like, he just wants to go home.
Yeah, and like granted, maybe home isn't the best place for him, but like sure as hell better than this place.
Yeah, and like yeah, exactly. Home is not the best, but he still has that childish urge to like, he just wants to go home. Like,
yeah, kids want to stay with their parents, even when the parents are not good for them.
Exactly. And if you are keeping them from the family to make them slave vessels, no, bad. Okay.
Yeah.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. Anyway, so he's trying to get the creepy flower head man dude to let him go home, when from the monitor flashbacks, we get a voice. And it's not immediately clear who is talking, because if we remember all the way back when we had somebody speaking through a monitor before, it was 2 people. It was AFO and Garaki. So at this point, somebody is talking to him through the monitor. Honestly, it could be AFO or Garaki. It's not clear which one it is, but
I'm leaning towards Garaki.
Yeah, because it feels like Dobby didn't have a lot of contact with AFO himself.
Yeah.
Whereas Shigaraki, as like the chosen vessel, got like all
AFO's like undivided attention.
Yeah, exactly. So assuming this is Garaki, he is talking to him through the monitor and basically telling him how they brought him back from the brink of death. They had to regenerate him, but he still has a lot of damage. He has organ damage. He has obviously skin damage.
Yeah, sensory damage.
Yep, his sense of pain has actually been dulled, which is kind of a relief because,
God,
like, because long-term burns are just ever-loving pain all the time. So, like, it's good that he has dulled pain senses, but also just knowing what happens.
There's also a lot of documentation on like what having your sense of touch dulled does to your brain, and it's not good.
It's not good. It's also just on a very basic level, it's bad for the body to not feel pain and just keep pushing into that pain and that damage. So
a whole bunch of metaphors in there.
Yeah, a whole bunch of metaphors, but also now we know why he's all fucking scarred up and just never stopped, because yes, he does not feel as much pain, but also he does not feel as much pain. It's bad, it's good, it's a mess. Bad vibes. All right. So along with all of that, Garaki tells him that his quirk is never going to be the same as it was when he set that wildfire.
Yep.
Which Toya, obviously, his fire is everything because he wants to show his dad whatever.
Yeah, so cute. Yet another mental breakdown.
Yeah. And basically, he is a failure again. He's a failure forever. And Garaki kind of like uses this moment to try and pull him into their terrible web of children who are basically just waiting around as prisoners, even if they don't feel like prisoners, for AFO's plans. So, Toya, in the midst of this breakdown and this like full launch into Dobby, he's like, no, he is not getting trained by anyone else, not his father and not anyone else. Even at this point, it's because AFO and Garaki are, mean, but maybe if it had been an actually nurturing environment, he might have taken it. But obviously he can sense something's not right about this. And even though he's in his mental break, he's like, no, I'm not doing this again. Which is good, but also not really good, because you turn the panel and Garaki goes into this gross little thing about how something inside of him was already festering and like it could have actually been fixed, people. Well, maybe not fixed, but like, cared for properly.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's basically like telling the audience that daycare kind of place was just like a place where they're holding the spares for AFO should Tomura Shigaraki like fail.
Yeah, not work out.
Yeah, exactly. They were like backups for his vessel for the Demon King, which is like the recurring metaphor from the original comic book. It's all connected. So as Dobby flees, he actually sets that house on fire, which
ooh, but I mean, let's be real. Like, if those kids would have been Nomus.
Yes, exactly. The kids would have been Nomus. And hopefully at this point, maybe they like escaped the fire and therefore escaped. I'm not saying all of them did, but maybe like one or two, maybe it was good.
Who knows?
The implication is he killed them all, destroyed the house, like good riddance flower face guy, man. But the poor kids.
Yeah, but at this point, like Toya's in a state of mind where it doesn't really matter who's in his way. He's going to go after the people that hurt him.
Exactly. And he
collateral damage doesn't mean anything to him.
Exactly. And he may not even recognize that it is collateral damage, because he's like in that kind of break mindset. He's just going forward. He may not even notice he killed anybody, but he still killed people. So we go back to Garaki and the officer, and the officer is like fucking grossed out, as should we all be. And Garaki goes on to say that Toya / Dobby, as he is now becoming, he was the one kid who did not believe what they were doing. Like he escaped from the horrible factory that could have been. So as Garaki continues, he believed that Toya didn't had a month left without any sort of care.
Yeah, they didn't think he was going to live due to the extent of his injuries.
Exactly. And then however many years later, when we like meet Dobby again in like season 2 or season 3, when the broker brings him to Shiggy after the Stain arc, Garaki is shocked that he's still alive. Which like, haha, good.
Yeah, also, like, clearly they're not keeping the finger on the pulse, because how many people has Dobby killed in the meantime? And like, he kills them pretty spectacularly.
Yeah, it's like,
so they're clearly not keeping tabs.
Yeah, at least not on things that they don't already want. So like they knew Dobby, or they believed that Dobby was going to die, so why pay attention to anything that might be Dobby when obviously
exactly
dead?
They assumed a lot of shit, and they were incorrect.
Because they're stupid, but also they keep winning because evil is terrible. Anyway, there's a metaphor in there too somewhere, but I am too sad to try and get it out. So when Dobby comes back, he's dyed his hair, he's more scarred, he's got his stupid little trench coat. He basically at some point goes to see the Nomu that is used to fight Endeavor.
Well, he brings that one back, doesn't he? Like he collects it after the fight and then it's like, I'm taking this, bye now.
Yeah, I think if I'm remembering right, the Nomu was sent there and like Dobby was in charge of it, before and after the fight. So at some point it looks like before that fight with Endeavor, he and Garaki are like having this conversation about what to do with this high-end Nomu.
Yeah.
And Garaki is just like, what? How? But basically, like in that moment when they have their little one-on-one, when the rest of the league isn't there, like as a buffer, Garaki realizes like just what has kept Toya / Dobby going. And
also, sorry, it's important to note, Dobby also realizes at this time that had he stayed with them, he would have ended up in Omu.
Yep. Which is really fucking sad and terrifying. But because he realizes this, he's like, okay, cool. This is a good place for when I go out in my blaze of glory, because like the only thing that's kept him going is the grudge he has against Endeavor and his family, which is not good, not healthy, but fully expected and still very sad. Okay. So the chapter does keep going. We kind of shift back to Dobby's perspective of what happens when he got away from the daycare, for lack of a better word. And while the fight continues between him and Shoto, he's thinking about how he did actually return home after that, like after those 3 years after he had set the orphanage.
Yeah, he found his way home after that.
Yep, he went home. It looks like the implication is he like was looking through a window because none of them actually saw him. So he saw the shrine that was set up to him that we know from previous episodes that Endeavor prays to, because
this man is not dealing with his emotions either, just passing them along to his kids.
Yep. And he's just going through the motions and not actually processing anything. And while he is there, after he sees his shrine, he sees that Endeavor is still quote unquote training Shoto, but in reality he's like fucking abusing him. It's like the same scene he left.
And he's like, this is the exact same cycle. Nothing has changed. My death was for nothing. And
my life was
nothing is ever going to get better ever. You know, that whole
mindset.
Yes, that whole mindset just spirals.
Yeah. And he basically comes to the quote unquote conclusion that because nothing is ever going to change, the only mark he as a failed experiment or a failed life can make is basically going out and taking whatever he can with him. So he
just taking the entire system down with him is his
exactly
plan.
Yeah. And we go back to the fight, and basically Dobby continues his monologue, and he's just essentially saying all the same things we've seen. He's like, my body was falling to pieces, but I still had this mission. And then one of Endeavor's sidekicks points out, and Shoto also realizes that Dobby has been prepared to die in this battle from the start.
Yep. He's like a guy that walks into a mall with a bunch of C4 strapped to his own chest. Like he is not planning to live.
Nope. And in this chapter, he starts referring to his father as that thing, which is not good. That deeper personalization, big red flag. But if we had thought there may have been some sort of redemption for Dobby going forward with this chapter, no, it's
really. I have the exact opposite reaction, but we'll talk about it in a bit. Let's just keep going.
Yeah, I didn't say that well, because maybe, but also like the implication from Dobby's point of view is like he doesn't think there's any sort of redemption. So anyway, we'll talk about it. So on the next page, you see him praying at the shrine and
to himself.
Yeah.
That's got to be a weird experience.
Yep. It's like Toya died and this is his shrine. So I am praying. And this is when Dobby was born. So he's been Dobby for quite a few years now. But again, the time frame between that when the daycare went up and when he returned to the League, we can only assume he was just murdering a bunch of people and training and just keeping himself alive.
Yeah.
So like all he had to hold on to was the grudge against his father. And the next panel is it's sad. It is just Garaki narrating how the demon lord himself had to abandon that frenzied flame of death. And in that panel, Dobby himself has like returned to that charred skeletal body, but he's still alive and he's just burning himself up. He is creating more heat than he ever has as he essentially destroys the All Might statue at Camino. And then the next page is the last page where, it's rough. He's burning himself up as he goes on to try and destroy the thing, or rather the thing that thing, meaning his father, like holds dear. Like he still recognizes Shoto as the one thing his father, quote unquote, cares about. Not really, but that's what his mission has been. He's going to take Shoto down with him. He's going to destroy everything he can, including himself. And that is when the chapter ends with Shoto preparing his own move as Dobby prepares his, and he's like, not going to happen, big brother. And the chapter ends and we're left with all our sad feelings for another 2 weeks because I refreshed the app and chapter 351 comes out in 14 days.
No, why?
I know, how dare.
Oh my God.
Okay.
This is driving me insane.
Oh, big sad, big feelings. Let's go ahead and talk about the redemption. What were your thoughts?
So my thoughts before I read this chapter was that there wasn't going to be a redemption for Dobby. I kind of already assumed that his plan was to go on a more or less suicide mission and take down as much people as he could while also destroying himself. Yep. But now I'm wondering if we are actually going to see Shoto manage to save Dobby.
Yes, that's also what I was thinking. I phrased it badly before, but essentially I was speaking from, I guess, Dobby's perspective of how he never wanted a redemption. From his perspective, it's just not going to happen. But now, after this chapter, that is actually humanizing Dobby even more. Like the first part of his backstory kind of took me out of the Dobby simp camp because he was such a shit little kid, honestly.
Also, it's really hard to simp for a shitty 14-year-old. Like
exactly.
They're just the teenagers are just like that.
Yeah, exactly. And combining that with what we had seen of Dobby's character up until that point, like he never seemed sorry for what a shit kid he was, so he just became a shit adult, kind of. That's where I was before this chapter. But now that he has been humanized again, he has been terrorized again, not just by his father, but by like so many other systems, both like not even just the Nomu/Vessel daycare horror show that he woke up in, but like all the other systems also like just let him fall.
Yeah, like at least Shiggy found some sort of quote unquote acceptance with All for One. Like Dobby didn't even get that.
Yeah, exactly. And like just every single struggle he had faced, just it never let up. Like he never had any sort of break, even when he realized his wrongs in the past. He did not have that opportunity, hopefully yet, to like make up for it. So I think that's where I am now, like seeing how he woke up from the wildfire, wanting to make some sort of amends, as I guess fragile as it might have been, because he still hated his dad. he still seemed to have wanted,
which, you know, fair.
Yeah, totally fair, totally fair. But he still seemed to have wanted some sort of, not apology, but some sort of
reconciliation.
yes, exactly. He wanted that at some point. So I think that is where I now think, yes, he may have some sort of redemption now. It just makes his character so much more three-dimensional. And like before,
yeah, that was my issue with his character, is that I'm just not about like snarky dudes. That's just not the kind of characters that I like, but that seemed to be what he was really like leaning into with Dobby. So that was really more my issue with him. But yeah, now that he's definitely made him much more complex, I'm a little more on board with his character.
Yeah, we're a little more sympathetic. Like exactly what happened with Shiggy. Like, we all still think Shiggy sucks, but also we can empathize with him because we know where that, like, those trauma responses are coming from. And now Dobby
also,
has
like,
been more humanized.
Yeah, and like, you know, the entire point of not just Shiggy, but also like everyone that's in the League of Villains is that they characterize like the worst obvious aspects of mental illness, like being dirty, being scarred, not understanding social cues, all this stuff that people like dehumanize about mental illness. So it's as the story goes on, it's easier to feel more and more sympathy.
Exactly. And I love that they are taking the time to show that the things that are dehumanized about mental illness are the results of, like, you know, actual trauma. Like, they're not just dirty because they like whatever want to be dirty or whatever bullshit.
And then also like the people who need help are also the people that are least sympathetic.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Oh, okay. So other than redemption, which we will hopefully get in 2 weeks, but also
honestly, I'm hoping for that even more for Shoto's sake. I know that sounds bad because we just watched Dobby like go through the worst thing ever multiple times. I don't know. I just don't want Shoto to watch his brother die.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we can still not like Dobby. We can still want him to not win because after that moment where he wanted that reconciliation, since then he has not. So he's been making that choice to not want anything good to come of it, which would be more likely like with therapy, but also you can
like even looking beyond like morality or therapy, just like the very idea of this sucks, I'm going to take everything down with me, that's not like the kind of progress that you think it is.
Exactly. Yes. And that is why we're
tempting as it is some days.
Very tempting, very tempting. But yes, I agree.
It don't work like that.
Oh, it sure doesn't. But I do want that, if not redemption, then maybe reconciliation with and for Shoto. Like, fuck Endeavor, he can lose anything and everything, but I hope Shoto gets some.
Can Endeavor die instead? Can Endeavor die instead of Dobby?
Imagine that.
Can his last redeeming act, if he must have one, because we know he's going to have one, can it be saving Toya, please?
Yes. Like, imagine if he abandons his post, like with the AFO fight, because AFO he knows how to get right in there and like hypocritically point out all the abuse that Endeavor has done. But just imagine Endeavor finally like abandoning his post, going to the Dobby Shoto fight and like stepping in and
finally doing his goddamn job. Yeah, taking care of his sons. Yeah.
Yep. That would be nice. I feel like that's probably not going to happen, but
probably not
in the ideal world where we are actually writing My Hero Academia. That would be nice. All right. Well, looking forward, did we miss anything that we want to discuss in this chapter, or did we want to think about what's going to happen next chapter?
I do have one thing to bring up, and it's I don't necessarily have a point to make. I just thought this was very poignant, especially considering like the whole go beyond plus ultra like motto that the kids have, which is at one point Dobby goes, when you surpass your limits, it's like everything you've built up is flipped around upside down. I focused on honing my flame so I wouldn't be so weak when we next met. And I just thought that was a very interesting inversion of the go beyond plus ultra thing, where you see, Toya doing exactly that, and it leads to his self-destruction.
Yeah. I think you're right. It is just an inversion of that metaphor and that motif, where going beyond your limits has been seen as a positive thing, but also it
there's a dark side to it too.
Yep, exactly. That whole dichotomy between heroic behavior and villainish behavior, and how they're kind of actually the same side or different sides of the same coin.
Yeah, there's just a lot of the horseshoe metaphor,
No, I don't. What horseshoe? Where's the horse?
So the horseshoe metaphor is for like political leanings, and the idea is that the further right or left you go, the closer you get to the opposite end of the spectrum.
Okay. Yeah, that definitely that is in play here. Oof. More big sads and big feelings. All right.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, looking forward to, I guess, 2 weeks from now when 351 comes out, are we thinking if we are going to continue this battle, or are we going to have a repeat of the Toga battle where they do a thing and then they pull back to show what's going on in the other battles? Because I feel like we can go either way, and I'm not ready for either one.
Yeah, I'm not ready for either one. Mostly, I want to know that Toga is going to be okay. That's all I want.
Yeah. I want to know where all our babies are. Like, even now, we still don't know where most of 1A is. And like,
where is Kirishima?
Where is everybody? And like, we went into it knowing it was going to be like not a 1A thing or not a 1A chapter, fine, but I want next chapter, I want to know where everybody is, how everybody's doing.
I need to just like lay eyes on my children so I know they're safe.
Yes, exactly. And I don't know if I'm going to have the strength to watch the Toya Shoto showdown. It's just like,
I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. That's a lot.
There are so many things that are coming up, and now
I have so many priorities.
No words.
I have so many priorities. They're all important. They're all top level priorities.
And there's no way to organize them or like lessen the anxiety we feel for all our babies. It's just like every time we think we're just getting a straightforward battle, Horikoshi just comes in with more feels and like, sir, please, my heart.
He's like, I know none of y'all can afford therapy, so we're gonna go through this together.
Yep. And we're just gonna get all our feels out. It's good, it's great, it's not great, sir. Please. I'm tired.
I'm just so tired.
Just release the rest of the manga so we can know what's going on. And
I just need to speed run these last few moments, please. Oh God.
Yeah, we're not going to get that. We are going to get more pain. And honestly, I wonder what else he's going to throw in there. Like, we've gotten more of Toga. Now we've gotten more of Toya. Are we going to get more of Spinner next? Or
Spinner? Where is he?
He's doing something.
What is he doing?
From last time, he's doing something. We just still don't know what.
Oh God.
Okay, well, this was not a fun Sunday, but it was an enlightening Sunday, and
very enlightening.
I am sad and have feelings, but
Dobby stands. Go be nice to yourselves. Go do something nice for yourselves. Don't be like Dobby. Treat yourself well, please.
Don't set any fires, please. Go.
That too.
Go have some ice cream or something. Oh God.
Oh goodness. Well, this has been Catch the Fuck Up. You will hear us in a couple weeks, but in the meantime, go beyond plus ultra and catch the fuck up. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
I definitely screwed up that ending again.